Hey, this is my DK example tanking video. Again, kind of food for thought. Take it as you will with a grain of salt. Tweak it, don't tweak it, whatever you want to do. But this is what I do. On my DK, we start with the stats. For instance, this is all unbuffed, no food, no pots, no nothing on currently. We are running on the max side. We're running 15k Magicka, 39k health, stam is 17. Recovery side, we're looking at 1400 for Magicka. Health, we're looking at 1000. Stam, we're looking at about 500. We are a Imperial Dragonite, so we're running all of our points into health. Additionally, I have the Magicka Recovery Mundus Stone on. If we jump into gear, for instance, or actually let's go back real quick. Let's put some food on. Food-wise, you could do jewels or you could do sugar skulls. Jewels will be more sustained, sugar skulls will have more resource pools. But if we look at max side of things, now we're at 44 health, 19,000 Magicka, and then 22,000 stam. As for gear, kind of the same typical setup you would see with tanking setups. You got Turning Tide. This is main tanking currently. You have Turning Tide on. I have a Master Ice Staff, which I'll explain in a second. I have Naz for the helmet for the Monster and Shoulder. The Monster set Head and Shoulder. I have Pearls unperfected for the body pieces. You can get the perfected version, but it's not gonna really do that much of a difference for you. It's just an extra resource gain. An extra resource gain is an extra gain, so yes, it's better off if you don't have it. It's not the end of the world. I've tanked everything in here so far, and I've done it all without perfected, so to each their own, really. On the jewels, we are running Turning Tide again. If we want to go into traits, for the jewels, we're running Harmony. For the enchants, we're running 2 Magicka Recovery, 1 Reduced Cost. If you want to be fancy with it, I would actually recommend running 3 Harmony traits and then 3 Magicka Recovery traits for your jewelry. For your body pieces, if you can pull it off, I would always recommend you run Divines on every single piece. Don't look at my screen because they're not Divines, but you want Divines for every piece. That way you can increase your Magicka Recovery. The more Magicka Recovery you have, the more skills you can spam and help out and buff and debuff and do all those types of things. For enchants on the body, we are running Tri-Stat enchants on every single piece. You could swap out your heavy pieces, being your head, your chest, and your legs. Those would be your heavy pieces. Heavy as in like your big pieces for your enchants. Notice how like your hands have a smaller enchant size, your feet too, your waist, your shoulders, but your chest and helm and pants all have bigger enchants. So you could run health on those ones if you'd like, but I would recommend doing Tri-Stat on everything. For your front bar, I would actually recommend running Charge, or you could run Infused, but I would, for the enchant, I would recommend running like a stamina steel enchant in a sense, where like if you hit a monster, you get stamina back or Magicka back, one of those two, on the premise that you're crushing shock on a sword and board front bar, or a sword and board any bar really. It's going to be less than if you had it on a staff. If we swap over real quick, so we can see we have 2100 here, but we only have 1000 here. So big difference in the crushing shock right there. So you could run Magicka Steel or Stamina Steel as your enchant or your poison on your front bar with Charge, that way it goes off every single time guaranteed, or Infused, that way you get bigger resources back, your pick there. On the shield, I run a Tri-Stat and Infused as the trait. When it comes to the staff, if you are running, let's say, another 5-piece set, so let's say you do War Machine, boom, you pop over your War Machines You're good to go. You now have your five set. If I swap over, boom, there you go. If you're not running a 5 set, and let's just say that you're doing TT on the front bar, you could run, let's see, you could run a Master Ice Staff, which would give you reduced cost on your Destructive Touch, which we'll dive into here in a second. Or you could run a Maelstrom Arena Ice Staff that will give you increased damage on Wall of Elements, which we'll get into again in here in just a second. But those would be my recommendations, to have kind of 3 staffs that you can change out between. Content going to be dependent on which staff you would be using, I guess you could say. But on my DK, I'm mainly using the Ice Staff unless I'm running Powerful Assault. I wouldn't run War Machine on a DK. War Machine's really for like an off tank in a scenario. Like a Necro tank could run War Machine, or an Arcanist tank could run War Machine, but that's kind of situational as well. So I'd really only run Powerful Assault, or I'd run the Maelstrom or the Master. Mainly Master. But to explain that, if we go into skills, on the back bar I run Clench, which is Destructive Touch's morph. I run this because this is my range taunt. This is going to provide major main, which is going to reduce damage taken, or damage done I should say, by 10% on anyone you apply this to. So it's a range taunt and a debuffer, so there's that. It's kind of like running Sunder, Runic Sunder on an Arcanist, but you have it as a staff skill, so there's that. With the Master Staff, you get a 10% cost reduction on this skill. And then moving along, we have Chains, which you could swap out with a different ability. Your whole back bar practically, while we're at it, this could all be swapped out to anything you really want. This is a really flexible bar. So we have Clench, Chains, Echoing Vigor. This is great because it stacks with anyone else running Echoing Vigor. We have Engulfing Flames to increase fire damage done, so if anyone, I mean everyone runs an Inferno Staff on their back bar, so increases fire damage done. And then I will swap out the Rapid Maneuvers for either, let's see, Stone Giant, Igneous Weapons, Ash Cloud, or Ellie Drain, which I don't have right now. Additionally, you could run Dark Talons or Choking Talons. You could run the Strike as well. You could do the Poison one for damage or the Magic one for healing. I really wouldn't use this, but you could if you wanted to. I would probably just stick with running this as a really flexible spot. 9 times out of 10, I'm using Stone Giant. To explain this one, it provides Stagger, which is going to increase the damage taken by anything you apply this to by 55 per a stack, and you can do 3 stacks, so 55 times 5, and then take any skill in the game that you and 11 other people in a trial are doing, any damage skill, dots, AoEs, direct, you name it, apply 55 times 3 to that skill or damage, whatever you want to call it, and boom, it amplifies, it multiplies, it compounds. It's a great damage booster. The only downside is you're going to be using 2000 stamina every single 5 seconds, or 6 to 5 seconds to reapply it, because you want to have 3 stacks at all times. So if I were you, I would either pop synergies. 9 times out of 10 in a realistic setting, I'm throwing this out, and then I'm heavy attacking, I'm throwing it out, heavy attacking, and repeat throughout the whole cycle. You could swap it out for Igneous Weapons as well. Any of these skills really, but just kind of going through the motion of things. But you could run Igneous Weapons in the back bar. This is going to give you a whole minute duration for providing more damage to your team, because pots only last 30-40 seconds, if that. So you can have 100% uptime on increased damage for you and your team. You could run Ash Cloud. I'd really only run this if you're doing VCR3, specifically for the portals. If you're inside the portal as a main tank, you could throw this right on top of the actual portal in the middle of the arena, and it'll stop the ads from coming through. You could run Talons for crowd control, you name it. Now you could run Protective Skill if you want, but you really don't want to ever use this skill. I don't know why I have it, but there's that. Also, you're running Warhorn on your back bar. This is your bread and butter. You should always pop this over anything else. And then on the front bar, this one's going to be more static base. You could swap things out to your liking, but this is what I run again. I don't have Mage's Guild, so I am running Hardened Armor, or I will run Spike Armor. Friendly reminder, as a tank, you don't want to be selfish. You want to be always providing something to the group. So I would run Spiked Armor. That would do an AoE damage effect to anything around you, so that it's just, again, more damage is better than no damage. So I run Spike Armor. Then you're going to run Green Blood for your bread and butter healing effect. This is your burst heal. Then you're going to run Igneous Shields for you and your team. I run Revealing Flare, Pierce Armor, and then Barrier. I'm using Flare and Barrier on the front bar. Flare is just a slottable because it reduces your damage taken by 10%. And then Barrier, I have this for oh shit moments. But if we look at the support skill line, and we go down the Magic Aid, if you're level 9 in support and you have Magic Aid, you're going to get increased Magicka recovery. Each skill slotted is going to give you 10% extra Magicka recovery. So I have 2 in the front bar, so I have 20% extra Magicka recovery from what I currently have. So that's really cool there. I think that's really it. If you don't need Revealing Flare, I would actually slot Stone Giant on the front bar and just kind of keep going at it with that. But if you're tanking things, I would just keep that on there. It's kind of like your good to go skill. I think that's everything for skills. Passives, of course. Oh, if you have it, I don't, so mine can be a little flip-flop. But if you have it, I'd run 1 medium piece. Maybe you could do a 5-1-1, 5 heavy, 1 light, 1 medium, or you could do a 6-1, 6 heavy, 1 medium. I like to do a 6-1, so 1 medium piece. The rest is going to be heavy armor. That is because if we go down to your medium stuff, and we go to here, reduces your roll dodge by 2%, increases your movement speed, where else is it? Reduces your stamina cost abilities, and then the big one is reduces the cost of block by 3%. So that's a big one for me. And then you could run the light armor. That's going to help you out with some extra things. Reduces roll dodge as well. That way it negates the heavy armor passive, so that the penalties really. So a little food for thought there. And then the CP, it's going to be a little bit similar to the Arcanist one, if you watch that one. Let's see, in this tree we're running these. In the blue tree we're running these. Red tree. With the red tree, we are doing the same thing as the Arcanist, where we're putting a lot of our points over here. This is just to help us because we don't have that much CP to put in other things currently. If we had more CP, we would probably not run much over here. We'd focus more so on this side of the tree. But if you find yourself dying a lot, then I would stick on to this side of the tree. kind of the same thing. I just want to show you guys. We got 30 there, 20 there, 7 here. You could put more points into there and call it a day. Now if we go into here real quick, Matt's maxed out, maxed out, maxed out. So there's that. If we were to fully buff real quick, let's throw in some food. Throw a bot in there, boom. And these are our max stats currently. If we were to run recovery food, that's our max stats. I think the pot just wore out, so, but that's our max stats. And I think that is everything, if I'm not mistaken. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on Discord about it. DK is a lot more flexible when it comes to things. Resource management is a lot easier as well, so you could probably just really get away with running max tri-stat food. If you're having troubles with sustain, you could go with Jules. Jules is my go-to for any tanking class. And I think that's everything. If you're worried about, let me rebuff real quick. If you are worried about the resistances, this is something you could play with. You could run more CP into armor in the red tree. Somewhere over here, this one right here, fortified. You could run CP in there. But there's not much in the game that's going to kill you with that much resistance. I've cleared them every single trial in the game. I've done almost all the hard modes in the game. It's a rare that I die to a one-hit mechanic in the game with that resistance. And there is certain content that you do have to have guard on, but again, you're not going to die. If you can pop your shields and maintain things, then you're good to go. Just don't drop block. Oh, food for thought on destructive. If you're running the Trifocus one, where while an ice staff is equipped, blocking costs magic instead of stamina. If you have, let's get rid of it. Say you have no magicka, right? And you're blocking, and then you bar swap while holding block. You are still using magicka right now. You have to let go of block, then reblock, and now you're using stamina. Just because you bar swap does not mean you are using that resource pool. So just to keep that in mind, I've seen people, myself included, where you're using a lot of abilities, you're killing things, boom, 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 and all of a sudden you now have no magicka. You bar swap because, hey, I need stamina to block the next attack, and then you just get one hit out of nowhere while you're blocking with the max resource pool. It's because you're still on the previous pool. Even though you swap bars, you have to let block drop real quick, bring it back up, and now you're on the next resource pool. So kind of keep that in mind as well. Thanks.